Hey, welcome to Oz Talk. It's Ryan J, and I am flying solo today because my co-hosts are all working and I'm working from home. But I'm thrilled to be bringing you some really exclusive and fantastic new Oz entertainment. There's this new show called Forever Oz. It's a play that is written and directed by Ian McFarlane, a friend of mine, over in the UK in London. They're doing it there, and we've got lots of fans over there. We hope the show comes here someday. But what I love about Forever Oz in particularly is it's what Return to Oz, the 1985 Disney sequel to The Wizard of Oz, could have and probably should have been. It's a really, really brilliant sequel that brings Dorothy into the mix without sidelining Tip. And I just love it. I'm so impressed by what I've seen and what I've read, and by the majesty and talent of not only Ian but his incredible cast. And I'd like to welcome them to Oz Talk. Hello.
Hello.
You see Ian, writer-director in the middle there, Ian McFarlane, and we also have Ruth Betteridge, who plays Tip in the show, and Oliver Maudsley, who is L. Frank Baum. And you both kind of do a couple other characters as well. But let me start by asking the actors, what was your exposure? Because Ian is like me, an Oz historian, a big Oz fan, and we'll certainly get to that. But with Ruth and Oliver, what was your background with Oz? Are you big Oz fans yourselves?
That is such a good question. My only experience has been The Wizard of Oz, and definitely something I've absolutely loved as a child. Grew up watching the Judy Garland movie, and then actually the reason I ended up deciding to go into performing full time was when I played Dorothy in The Wiz. So that was kind of like my first big role and introduction to theatre. So it kind of feels like a very special story to me. But I honestly didn't know how huge how much writing there was and how many stories. And so this has been exciting, learning more about the world of Oz.
Yeah. And for me, I also did a version of The Wiz when I was a kid, when about 8 years old, as the Wizard. Very small. And I'd seen the film a couple of times as well, but I didn't really get into Oz until I actually met Ian. I've worked with Ian a couple of times now, and he was always going on about how much he enjoys Oz and Return to Oz and all this Oz facts. And so he started getting me very, very interested in it. And so that's eventually led here.
Mm-hmm. So Ian, you do love Oz. You're the Oz historian, and you wrote this play. What was your first introduction to Oz? Was it The Wizard of Oz? I know you're a huge Return to Oz fan, but did you also obviously read all the books, right?
Yeah, I have. It was the movie first. I saw the Judy Garland movie. I don't know how old I was, 5, 6. And then one Christmas, I got a copy of The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. So Ollie's actually staying with me whilst we're rehearsing, and I put my original copy by his bed, which he thought was like a passive aggressive. Make sure you've read this, but it wasn't. But I got the copy. I think I was probably 9 when I first read the book, and then it was the books for me. I loved the film. I absolutely loved the film, but the books were what really turned me onto it, and then Return to Oz I was just obsessed with, and I'm still at. I just think it's such a beautiful film. So it was very much the books, and the John O'Neill illustrations were so my thing. But I loved the film, and I in my parents' house there are figurines and cookie jars and toys. Oh my, there's all of it. I did all of the collecting and everything as a child. A bit less so now.
I love it. And just want to let everyone watching know right now that we are live on both Facebook and on YouTube. So you can leave questions, make comments, and I'll be able to share them with the cast and director here. So feel free to do so, participate with us. Ian, with Forever Oz, like you started out as a performer and a lover of Oz. When did you feel the confidence or the nerve, or were you intimidated? Maybe you weren't, to actually tackle Oz yourself and create your own story.
I mean, I'd always so I trained as an actor, and then I went into directing and writing. I think 15 years ago, I think it is. and and I've always wanted to do the Wizard of Oz. And the weird thing is that Peter Pan has been this bizarre constant in my career, and not the Wizard of Oz. And I love Peter Pan, but I've done Peter Pan so many times, and I tend to. I get hired to do a production of Peter Pan, or I was commissioned to write a version of Peter Pan a few years ago, and then usually I do a production of Peter Pan, and on the back of that, something really exciting happens. And so the last time I did it was actually this Christmas just gone, which was when I first worked with Ruth. So that's the special thing that happened that time. But the Wizard of Oz, or Oz in general, has just not come my way professionally. So it was 2019. I was commissioned by one of the drama training institutions in England to write and direct something for their students. And they said, well, we did Dracula last year, you know, fantasy or the classics have big casts if you're interested in doing an adaptation. So I thought, this is finally my chance. And that was when I decided to write it. And then this year, there's been a lot of rewriting. But now it's having its professional debut. In terms of was I intimidated? Not to begin with at all. I was so excited to do it, and I've loved the world so much. And I'm a research geek. I absolutely really am. I love researching the world of a show. And Ollie and I met doing an adaptation of Around the World in 80 Days. Around the World in 80s Days, which is the book with 80s music in it. I like to feel that Jules Verne would have enjoyed that, or I think he might be spinning in his grave, but never mind. But I sort of immersed myself back in the world, and it was only actually writing it for the drama institution. No, but now I do feel, without sounding too sort of lofty and highfalutin, there's a real sense of responsibility, because anybody I have a conversation with about it, well, not anybody, but there are a lot of people that don't even know that there's more than one book. And they will say, oh, did you make that bit up? Is that you? Is that L. Frank Baum? And I am introducing the ideas and some of these characters that they have no idea exist. So the sense of responsibility. I'm intimidated now is basically the answer that I'm trying to give you, but I wasn't to begin with.
No, it's really fantastic. I do want to remind everyone, this is a special edition of Oz Talk. Zoe, Tori, and Garrett are all in office and unavailable at this time. My interviewees are in London right now, and I was the only one working from home today and able to do this. So it's a special edition of Oz Talk, and we miss Tori and Garrett and Zoe. But I would like to remind everyone really quickly that this show is brought to you by the Oz Club. Since 1957, the International Wizard of Oz Club has been bringing fans together. So head on over to ozclub.org to join if you are not already an active member. We'd love to have you. Bringing you special content like things like this. One of the things that I love so much about Forever Oz is that you really fix the problems with what happened in Return to Oz. Now, Return to Oz is a cult favorite, and people love it, and all Oz fans tend to love it now as well, and it's very special. But your Forever Oz is a proper sequel to The Wizard of Oz, and how did you set out to kind of look at Return to Oz? Because there are some verbatim lines from the Return to Oz script in Forever Oz, but how did you choose? What gave you the idea and the inspiration to kind of work from it? Did it start from Return to Oz, or was this just your own, like, I want to do another story after The Wizard?
Well, I didn't really look at Return to Oz because I didn't want to be influenced by it. I love the film. And I tend to watch it once every 2 years. So I try and forget bits of it. And so it was my birthday recently, and I watched it with one of my best pals on my birthday, which was a great treat to sort of sit somebody down and introduce a new person to it. But no, I didn't go near Return to Oz, but I knew that I wanted to be true to the books. I didn't want to make up a sequel because I just think the material is so good. And yes, I've gone my own way in certain areas, but the majority of the ideas are all from the Baum books. So I knew that I wanted to introduce Chip, and I wanted to tell that story. If there are lines that are from Return to Oz, they are from they're from the books. So I can't actually now remember the way our line is worded, but there's when in Return to Oz, when Princess Mombi says, I'll lock you in the tower until your head is ready, then I believe I'll take it. And Dorothy says, I believe you will not. That's my favorite line, and it isn't in the book, so I didn't use it. So we have the line, but the wording is slightly different. So it might feel like there are lines from Return to Oz, but actually they're from the books. They're not quite.
Very good, very good. I stand corrected.
Yeah.
It's brilliant, and
Thank you.
I love that you have Baum in it as well. It has that sort of meta quality, and it gives it a really modern twist to the storytelling and how you get to Oz from Kansas and the rest of it. And Oliver, you're playing L. Frank Baum. How did you find him as a character?
I find him such a fascinating character. He had such an interesting life with such a wide variety of different jobs. And I think he is really, really interesting. I mean, it's terrifying playing him, knowing how huge the fan base is. And it's even more terrifying because it's so difficult to actually get hold of documentary evidence of him. So trying to see how he walked, how he talked, how he moved around. It's all had to be pulled from bits of documentaries or from accounts and that kind of thing. And also it has to work within the world of our particular play. So there's an awful lot of responsibility there. So hopefully I've got it right.
We'll find out.
Absolutely. And can you give us a little, because you guys are British, so you obviously have your accents. A little bit about how, the cabbie and the Wizard of Oz has the English accent, and certainly people in Return to Oz do. And how did you find your American accent as L. Frank Baum?
I knew that he came originally from Syracuse, so I was researching accents and trying to find something that kind of got fairly close to it. But also I had to give enough, because I also played a scarecrow in it as well, who has, obviously it's a bit of a different voice, but it's just trying to get enough.
More of the I want to hear all the voices. Can we hear?
Can we hear a long time? Hundreds of characters.
Can you give us a line as L. Frank Baum with your American accent, and then I want to hear a little bit of Scarecrow. And stand by, Ruth. You're on deck.
I'm really glad I'm not in it. Do you want the script?
I'm not writing any more Oz stories. If you'll pardon the lofty expression, my true calling is here in the... Hey, now don't look at me like that. You're going to love my new writing. Really. You're going to be big fans of By the Fading Light of the Candelabras. Oh, dear, that is a bad title. So that was a bit of...
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. How about a little bit of Scarecrow?
Well, I surmise there's another situation that demands my attention. I can wager that somebody is either singing or falling. Singing or falling. Singing or falling.
So if you guys watching out there, the show is framed with Baum going to a theatre trying to sell them his new show, and he's decided that he's not going to write any more Wizard of Oz books, and he's going to do his play By the Unforgiving Light of the What is it?
By the Fading Light of the Candelabras Unforgiving Blaze.
And poor Baum, he wrote a play that sort of sounded like that. I've made it sound worse. I'm sorry, Frank. But he goes in, and then he's the only one that can see the audience, and he keeps seeing the children in the audience, and there's this pull to want to tell more Oz stories. And so he sort of says to them, okay, we'll go back one quick visit to make sure everything's okay. Then we're coming back to do my play. And then the theatre becomes Oz, and the actors that he's met, they become all the different characters. And Baum, because he wanted to be a performer and he was a showman of sorts, he takes on all the showy roles. So Ollie plays the Scarecrow, he plays the Wogglebug, he plays Mombi, he plays one of Langwadere's heads. He plays TikTok. He plays King Pastoria. He plays Belina. So he's really busy, and sort of he's grabbing a puppet and then running over and changing a costume. And it's a real tour de force performance. But that's the context for what's happening there.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. We have some pictures we're going to take a look at in a moment. But Ruth, you played Tip, and when Ian was generous enough to let me read the script and look over it, and I just love it. I can't wait to see it someday myself. I hope you tour internationally with it, and it runs forever. But Tip has a really interesting speech pattern, or a way of of communicating. Can you give us a line so we can hear? And first tell us, how challenging was it to learn the lines that way? And then can we hear a bit of Tip?
Yeah, she does. I have to say, I fell in love with her the first time I read it. I messaged Ian and I was like, I love her. She's just such a wonderful character. But yeah, hadn't really clocked that it would be quite tricky to learn this text because it makes complete sense, but it's sort of just slightly in the wrong order. So, I mean, I still am tripping over sometimes what it needs to be. But yeah, she's fascinating. So, for example, she has a bit where she's creating Jack Pumpkinhead to scare Mombi, and she says, "Aha! I'll pose as him here, and she'll be scared jippity out of her wits." So it's kind of like, yeah, it's amazing. And she's just got so much energy and mischievous qualities, but also, there's this like the fact that she's being enslaved and the kind of weight of the fact that she is Ozma and does not know. There's all of that underlying it, which is just really interesting to kind of play that and see how that kind of comes throughout the production.
I think there she is. I think the thing was I wanted to give the sense that she was under a spell and that all her memories have been taken away, and so that her brain, it's sort of, the memories were all there, but everything's in the wrong order. So it's like the way that she's learned to speak is now all in the wrong order. And the only person she's ever met is Mombi, because in our version, she's been trapped in the forest. The forest is under a spell in Gillikin country. And so that's why I gave her the sort of peculiar dialect. And then as the show goes on, she's having dreams about Ozma, which Mombi wants to turn her into the marble statue because she's realizing that it's getting to the point where Ozma is going to resurface.
So Ian, why the choice, though, as you're referring to Tip as her? So in your show, she's female?
She is. And that's because I felt that Baum, the reason he made Tip a boy was very much so that because he was writing The Marvelous Land of Oz so he could adapt it for the stage. And it's the one I like the least, I think, in all. Ozma of Oz or Dorothy the Wizard in Oz are my favorites. And he's very clearly writing a trouser role, or what we sometimes call breeches role, where I was going to say the turn of the century, but earlier than that as well. In grand opera, you would have a young, in the opera it'd be a young sort of light soprano playing a boy, or the same in Hansel and Gretel and things like that. So I think he's very clearly wanting to create that role for the stage. The same with Ginger and the Army of Suffragettes, so that he can have a chorus line of girls. And then, there's the bit with Jack Pumpkinhead and the Scarecrow, or the Gelia translation scene, which is... My favorite. Yeah, it's low vaudeville comedy that he's basically written the script in the book. And I've lifted a lot of that directly. But with Tip, I just thought, if Tip is a boy and then transforms into Ozma, it would need to be at the end of the first act. I don't think that you can have a story about somebody who is under a spell and they change gender and just reveal it in the last 5 minutes. I think you've got to explore that. You've got to say, well, what does that do to somebody? And also, I think, am I the person to tell that story? And so I thought, is that what the story is about? And that's why I changed it. However, she isn't necessarily. There are no pronouns until she becomes Ozma, so you can sort of interpret it how you like. Nobody.
Okay. So in the conversation we're having now, you're referring to Tip as she, so that's obviously where you're approaching it. But technically, you left the pronouns out until she's Ozma, which I think is great because I know that a lot of people in the LGBTQIA+ community that are Oz fans herald Tip and Ozma, and we consider the character to be the first trans representation in children's literature. We claim her as a member, and celebrate that. And so it's
if it was a TV series, I think you could really explore that. I mean, at the Emerald City TV series, I'm not a fan, but I think they did a pretty good job of it.
They did, yeah. There was a real struggle there with the gender identity. So let's talk a little bit about your costume. Let's explore. We saw how Tip looks. This is Emma, who plays Dorothy, and a really great interpretation. You've got some gingham there and the pigtails and.
Yeah, so I'm gonna own up to everybody. She's got one shoe there because I left. I left the other shoe at home when we were doing the photo shoot. So we've had to crop that out of all the pictures, but it kind of looks like she's just lost it in the tornado. So I've gone with it. But yeah,
For sure.
we've gone for the Edwardian look, it is set in the Edwardian era, and I want it to be true to the Denslow illustration there. And I think because we're asking the audience to go on this flight of fancy and experience completely new characters that they've never met, they do need some things, if they're not Oz fans, to hold on to. So I didn't want to do Dorothy with a blonde bob, like a Gibson girl, like she is in the Neil illustration. So I just think it would be too alien to too many people. You have to give them some things to hold on to, where they go, oh, okay, I get that reference. Whereas the rest of it is more booklet.
It absolutely makes sense. I love your Jack Pumpkinhead here.
Well, Jack. So with Jack and Tip, because they are of the forest. So Tip, Mombi has put a curse on the forest. So that she has, or they have, they've lived there all their life and they know nothing else. So I wanted all of the fabric to have sort of a nature element. And I love the poppies on that jumpsuit because they look like the Denslow illustrations. And that isn't something we had made, that's something I found. And then obviously Jack Pumpkinhead's clothes are supposed to be from a box of Mombi's, I've said Mombi's father's old clothes. So that's why he's got all these mismatched patterns. And he when he's a mannequin, it's a pumpkin and a waistcoat and a bow tie, and then when he transforms, he's humanized and he has the funny little pumpkin head and the orange glasses.
That's clever. Yeah, I mean the costumes are great, and in addition to great costumes, here we also have some really great puppetry involved, so that you have TikTok and Bellina, and check out Bellina here. It looks like you have Noah operating Bellina.
Well, it's different people opposite. So that's Nick, and we have different people operate. Yeah, we have different people operate Bellina throughout. So Ollie voices Bellina, but sometimes when she's not speaking, she'll be picked up by somebody else, and she's passed throughout the cast. And she also we have a gold proscenium as part of the set, and she has sort of a little window that she pops in and out of there. The same with TikTok. The duty is shared with everybody. But it's a beautiful book.
Speaking of TikTok, he's magnificent.
Yeah, it really is. He's really gorgeous. And he at the moment, I was going to make sure he was here with us today, but he is actually at the venue. He is in the foyer of the venue on display. And he's had so much attention, and people have been buying tickets based on him that he hasn't come into rehearsal yet because he's got another very important job to do. So it's a beautiful.
I mean, it all looks so great. Okay, wait. So Oliver, you voiced Bellina. We got to hear a little Bellina.
What do you think I am? A math but chicken?
My favorite line. That's so good. Who does TikTok's voice?
Also me.
Hear it?
Good evening. Thank you for rescuing me. My name is TikTok.
I love it. Oh my God, it just makes me want to see the show so badly. The puppetry, the costumes, your Emerald City scene looks like it's going to have some great greenness in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the original, because it's 4 people in the cast, and the original idea was going to be that it's all set in this theatre and it's in Baum's imagination. I thought, well, I might do everything in grey or in sepia, and then we'll add hats and things when we get to Oz. And my inner Oz fan just couldn't let it go, because I've designed the show as well. And once I started, it was like somebody had pulled my string. So I've gone full out. We've got full on green. They're wearing the green glasses as well. And we've got some really beautiful stuff actually in the Emerald City. I'm excited about that.
Very beautiful.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. Ruth, what did you learn about Oz from working on this show, and how does it change based on what you knew from before?
Oh, so much. I feel like I'm still learning. I feel like in this conversation I'm learning. I think, like I said, I only knew the story of The Wizard of Oz and Dorothy's first adventure there. So just discovering all these characters. I actually watched Return to Oz for the which I absolutely fell in love with. My dad tells me I have seen it before as a child, but I don't remember it. And so rewatched it in preparation. And Oh my word, it's absolutely beautiful and kind of terrifying, and all these characters and their kind of the journey that they went on in that. So I've just loved getting to know all the different people, and I think even doing it in the room, we've just had so much fun. And as you can hear, Ollie is fantastic with all the different characters, and so every time I'm like, oh, this is a new one. So I've just been having a wonderful time getting to know everyone.
It is so good. And I found the script so funny. I did not expect it to be so funny, so consistently funny throughout almost every scene. I was LOLing. You know, Toto was like, what's going on here? I don't laugh that much when I watch things, but your script is brilliant. So I imagine it's very funny on stage as well. And there's a lot, it appears to be music and songs also, right? You've got the gnomes doing some chanting and the Wogglebug a little bit, right? Is there singing?
There is one song, so there's a lot of music. We're actually using the Trouble in School music. It's not Trouble in School. It's called The Happy Farmer, which is what they used in the MGM movie as Dorothy's theme. So we have that in the opening because it's out of copyright. So I put that in as a nod, and then there's some really lovely. It's all pre-recorded music. The gnomes, they speak in rhyme. The Gnome King doesn't speak in rhyme, but the gnomes themselves speak in rhyme, and they're puppets. And they have some chanting, and there is a song that the Wogglebug sings. So he has his school, because we have two teams of 5 children in the show as well, and they play the Wogglebug students, and then also there's a child who plays Jellia in the Emerald City scene. And the Wogglebug comes on because Dorothy arrives in Oz. She realizes she's back in Oz because Billina can talk, and she figures all that out. But they don't know where in Oz they are. And Tip has no idea because she's been cursed. So they find their way out of the forest. But Dorothy knows the Emerald City's in the center. But without finding the Yellow Brick Road, she can't get there. So, and then they find out that the gnomes are coming to invade. So she needs to get to the Scarecrow to tell them about it. And they come across the Wogglebug, who is giving the students a geography lesson. And he has a big map of Oz. And he sings a poor, I know because he's going to ask you to sing some. The Wogglebug is giving a geography lesson, and he does the It Really Doesn't Matter song from Ruddigore, which is a Gilbert and Sullivan opera, famous Patter song. He does that with words about the geography of Oz. That's the only song that's in it. Sorry.
No, it's all such good information. I love it so much. I just want to know, you know, since I hope a lot of our followers over that are local, where you guys are in London, will be able to get out and see it. Will it be filmed? Will there be clips or anything that you'll be able to share if we have you back?
Yeah, we are. We are filming. We're having our gala performance on the 21st, and we are filming. We're filming then so that, for many reasons. One, so we can make a very nice trailer and I can sell the tour. But there will be it's not going to be commercially available. I'm sure you'll be able to watch it, Ryan. But but yeah, we will in the future release some clips, not the whole thing, but we'll definitely release clips and trailers and things online.
Right. And then lastly, are there plans to, you know, maybe bring it over to America at some point?
I would love to, but somebody's going to have to write me a check, write us all a check, and then if I would absolutely, I've not worked in the States. I was actually in New York in December talking about coming over there because I'd love to come out to the States and work. And I think that would be a terrifying responsibility, though, to bring the American fairy tale written by a Brit to America. But I'm game. If an Oz fan producer out there wants to join in my cohort and put some money into it, then I'll be there. Thank you very much.
It's just so fantastic. I love it, and I'm so impressed by your work, and I hope you all break legs and have the most fun doing it. And let's see, do we have any questions? Hope you're all able to bring it to America. This is from Daniel. Yes, Daniel, I concur. That would be so great. But I want to thank Ruth Betteridge and Ian McFarlane and Oliver Maudsley. Thank you so much for joining us today on Oz Talk. This has just been so great, and I'm so excited about your show. It's Forever Oz. It is going to be running May 19th through the 22nd at OSO Arts Centre. You can head over to osoarts.org.uk for tickets, and you don't want to miss it if you are able to. And again, this show is brought to you by the Oz Club, so go on over to ozclub.org to join today. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Bye-bye. Oh,